The rain fell hard against the stone walls of Thornwood Manor. Eleanor pressed her thin body against the kitchen doorway. Her stomach ached with hunger. She had not eaten since yesterday morning. "There you are, you wretched girl!" Her stepmother's voice cut through the dim hallway like a blade. Lady Beatrice stood at the top of the servants' stairs, her face twisted with disgust. "The floors in the drawing room are filthy. What have you been doing all morning?" Eleanor's hands trembled. She had been scrubbing those very floors for 3 hours. Her knees were raw beneath her worn dress. "I cleaned them, my lady. I finished just an hour ago." "Then you did a terrible job, as always." Lady Beatrice descended the stairs. Her silk gown whispered against the stone. "My guests arrive tomorrow. I will not have them see this house in such a state. You will clean every room again, and you will do it without supper." Eleanor's sister Prudence appeared behind their stepmother. She smiled that cruel smile Eleanor knew so well. "Poor Eleanor, always making mistakes. Perhaps if you were not so clumsy and stupid, Mother would not need to scold you so often." The words stung worse than hunger. Eleanor had once been the daughter of this house. Her father had loved her. He had called her his clever girl, his little sparrow. But that was before he died, before everything changed. "Yes, my lady," Eleanor whispered. She kept her eyes down. Looking at them only made things worse. Lady Beatrice sniffed. "And do something about your appearance. You look like a beggar. It shames us to have you in the house. If only your father had not been so foolish as to bind me to care for you in his will. What a burden you are." They swept past her. The scent of lavender and rosewater followed them. Eleanor stood in the cold hallway alone. She was 22 years old. An old maid, they called her. Too thin, too plain, hair the colour of mud, eyes too large in her narrow face, worth nothing to anyone. But Eleanor had a secret. Late at night, when the house slept, she wrote. Stories flowed from her pen like water from a spring, tales of adventure and love, of people who found happiness despite their suffering. She hid the pages under a loose board in her tiny attic room. Writing gave her hope that somewhere beyond these walls, life could be different. The next morning brought chaos. Lady Beatrice's guests filled the house with noise and laughter. Eleanor scrubbed and cleaned where no one could see her. She was good at being invisible now. She had learned to move through rooms like a shadow. "Eleanor!" Her stepmother's shriek echoed down the hallway. "Come here at once!" Eleanor's heart sank. She put down her bucket and hurried to the drawing room. Lady Beatrice stood by the fire. Her face was red with anger. In her hand was a letter. "This arrived this morning," Lady Beatrice said. Her voice was dangerous and quiet. "It is addressed to Lord Ashford of Ravenscroft Castle. Do you know who Lord Ashford is?" Eleanor shook her head. The name meant nothing to her. "He is the Duke of Ravenscroft, one of the most powerful men in England. And this letter concerns a business matter of great importance to this family." Lady Beatrice stepped closer. "You will take this letter to Ravenscroft Castle. It is 2 days' journey north. You will deliver it into the Duke's own hands. Do you understand?" "Yes, my lady." Eleanor's voice was barely a whisper. "If you fail in this task, do not bother returning. I will be done with you forever." Lady Beatrice thrust the letter at her. "The stable boy will drive you. You leave within the hour." Eleanor took the letter. The wax seal was deep red. She could not read the design clearly, but something about it made her uneasy. She had no time to wonder. Within the hour, she sat in the back of an old wagon, her only belongings wrapped in a thin shawl beside her. The journey was cold and miserable. Rain soaked through her cloak. The stable boy spoke not a word to her. They spent one night at a shabby inn where Eleanor slept on the floor. She ate only a crust of bread. Lady Beatrice had given her no money. On the second day, the landscape changed. Rolling hills gave way to darker forests. The trees grew thick and old. Eleanor saw a great castle rising in the distance. Its towers pierced the grey sky like black fingers. "That be Ravenscroft," the stable boy muttered. Grim place. They say the Duke never leaves, not since his wife died 5 years ago. Eleanor's chest tightened. A grieving Duke. She clutched the letter tighter. She prayed she could deliver it and leave quickly. But as they drew closer, something strange happened. Eleanor saw another castle. This one stood to the east. Its walls were lighter stone, its towers fewer but elegant. The stable boy did not seem to notice it. "Which castle?" Eleanor asked. "There be only one," the boy said. He pointed to the dark fortress ahead. "Ravenscroft." But Eleanor's eyes kept drifting to the other castle. Something pulled at her, a feeling she could not name. When the wagon turned toward the dark castle, Eleanor made a choice that would change everything. "Stop," she said. "I need to walk from here. My legs are cramped." The boy shrugged. He was eager to be done with her. "Suit yourself. I be going back now. You can walk the rest." Eleanor climbed down. She watched the wagon disappear down the road. Then she turned. She walked toward the eastern castle, the one that called to her like a voice in the wind. The gate stood open. No guards challenged her. Eleanor walked through into a courtyard. Gardens spread out on either side. Roses grew wild along the walls. Their petals were the color of blood and cream. The main door was massive, dark wood carved with intricate patterns. Eleanor lifted the heavy knocker. It fell with a sound that echoed through the courtyard. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened. An elderly man stood there. His clothes marked him as a butler. His face was kind but weary. "Yes?" he said softly. "I have a letter for Lord Ashford," Eleanor said. Her voice shook. "The Duke of Ravenscroft." The butler's expression changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Concern? Eleanor could not tell. "Come in," he said. "Wait here." He led her into a great entrance hall. Marble floors gleamed beneath her wet boots. Paintings lined the walls. Eleanor stood by the door. She dripped water onto the pristine floor. She felt small and out of place. The butler disappeared up a grand staircase. Eleanor waited. Her heart pounded. The letter felt heavy in her hands. She looked down at it for the first time with care. The seal caught the light from the windows. Her blood turned to ice. The seal bore the design of a sparrow in flight. Beneath it were letters she knew as well as her own name, her family crest, her father's seal. But this was impossible. Lady Beatrice had given her this letter, told her it was business with the Duke. Eleanor's hands shook. Something was very wrong. But before she could think, footsteps sounded on the stairs. She looked up. A man descended toward her. He was tall, broad-shouldered. His hair was dark as midnight. His eyes were grey like storm clouds. He wore black. Everything about him spoke of power and grief. His face was handsome but cold, as if carved from the same marble as the floors. He stopped 3 steps from the bottom, his eyes fixed on her. They swept over her wet cloak, her muddy boots, her tangled hair. Eleanor felt herself shrink under that gaze. "You have a letter for me?" His voice was deep, each word precise. "I believe so, my lord," Eleanor whispered, "though I fear there has been a mistake." "A mistake?" One dark eyebrow lifted. "Explain." Eleanor held out the letter. Her hand trembled so badly she nearly dropped it. "I was sent to deliver this to the Duke of Ravenscroft, but I came to this castle instead. And the seal—" Her voice failed her. He descended the last steps. He took the letter from her. His fingers brushed hers for just a moment. Eleanor felt a shock run through her at the touch. He examined the seal closely. His expression did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Where did you get this?" The question was sharp. "My stepmother gave it to me. She told me it was business, important business. I was to place it in the Duke's hands directly." Eleanor's words tumbled out. But that seal is my father's, my family's crest. I do not understand how she came to have it, or why she would send it to you. He broke the seal. He read the letter in silence. Eleanor watched his face. The cold mask cracked. Emotions flickered across his features. Shock, disbelief, something that might have been pain. When he looked up, his eyes held hers. "What is your name?" "Eleanor Whitmore, my lord." The name seemed to strike him like a blow. He took a step back. "Whitmore. Eleanor Whitmore." "Yes, my lord." Fear crept up her spine. "Have I done something wrong? I did not mean to intrude. I will leave at once." "No." The word was sharp, final. "You will not leave." "James!" He called to the butler who still hovered nearby. "Prepare the blue room. Miss Whitmore will be staying with us." "My lord, I cannot," Eleanor protested. "I must return. My stepmother expects me." He looked at her again. This time his gaze was different, intense, as if he were seeing her for the first time, as if she were a puzzle he needed to solve. "Miss Whitmore," he said quietly, "I am Alexander Ashford, Duke of Ravenscroft, and this letter," he held it up, "this letter is a contract, written 23 years ago by your father and mine, a betrothal contract between you and me." The world tilted. Eleanor's vision darkened at the edges. She felt herself falling. Strong arms caught her before she hit the marble floor. She woke in a bed so soft she thought she was dreaming. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. The room was blue. Blue silk on the walls, blue velvet curtains, blue flowers painted on the ceiling. Eleanor sat up slowly. Her head ached. She still wore her wet dress. Someone had removed her boots and covered her with a thick blanket. A knock sounded at the door. "Come in," Eleanor called. Her voice was hoarse. A woman entered. She was perhaps 50. Her face was gentle. She carried a tray with tea and bread. "Good. You are awake," the woman said. She had a soft accent. "I am Mrs. Davis, the housekeeper. His Grace asked me to sit with you until you recovered. You gave us quite a fright." Eleanor's memory rushed back. The letter, the seal, the Duke's words. "It cannot be true," she whispered. "There must be some mistake." Mrs. Davies set the tray on a table by the bed. "His Grace is waiting to speak with you, but first you must eat. And we must get you into dry clothes. You will catch your death in that wet dress." Eleanor wanted to argue, but the tea smelled like heaven. The bread was fresh and warm. Her stomach won the battle. She ate slowly while Mrs. Davies moved about the room. The housekeeper laid out a simple dress. Not fine silk, but clean and warm. Better than anything Eleanor had worn in years. When Eleanor had eaten and changed, Mrs. Davies led her downstairs. They walked through hallways lined with paintings, past rooms filled with furniture covered in cloth. This house felt empty, as if it was sleeping. They stopped before a door of dark wood. Mrs. Davies knocked softly. "Enter," the Duke's voice came from within. Mrs. Davies opened the door and gestured for Eleanor to go in. Eleanor stepped into a library. Books lined every wall from floor to ceiling. A fire burned in a great stone hearth. The Duke stood by the window. He still wore black, but now Eleanor could see him more clearly. He was younger than she had first thought, perhaps 30. The lines on his face came from grief, not age. He turned when she entered. "Miss Whitmore, please, sit." Eleanor sat in a chair by the fire. The Duke remained standing. He seemed more comfortable keeping distance between them. "I owe you an explanation," he said, "though I confess I am still trying to understand this situation myself." He picked up a paper from his desk, the letter she had delivered. "Your father and mine were close friends. When you were born, they made an agreement, a betrothal contract. You were to marry me when you came of age, 21 years old." Eleanor's hands gripped the arms of the chair. "But I knew nothing of this. My father never mentioned any such agreement." I suspect he planned to tell you when the time came, but he died when you were 14. Is that correct? Yes, my lord. The grief was still there, even after all these years. My father died 6 months after yours. The contract was forgotten, or so I thought. He looked down at the letter. But your stepmother knew of it. This letter invokes the contract. She demands that I honor it, that I marry you. But why? Eleanor could not understand. She hates me. Why would she want me to marry a duke? It makes no sense. The duke's expression darkened. The contract includes a dowry, a substantial sum that your father set aside. If the marriage takes place, that money is released. If not, it returns to your father's estate, to your stepmother's control. Understanding dawned like cold water. She wants the money. Yes, and she wants you gone. He spoke the cruel truth gently. This serves both purposes. Eleanor stood. Her legs shook, but she forced herself to remain upright. My lord, I will not hold you to this contract. It was made without my knowledge or consent. You are not bound to me. I will find my own way. Where will you go? The question was simple, devastating. Eleanor had no answer. She had no money, no family who would take her, no prospects. She was a 22-year-old woman with nothing but the clothes on her back. The Duke watched her struggle. Something shifted in his expression. Miss Whitmore. Eleanor. May I call you Eleanor? She nodded, too shocked to speak. My name is Alexander. I would ask you to use it, at least when we are private. He moved closer, not too close, respecting the space between them. I understand this situation is not of your making, nor is it truly of mine. We are both victims of circumstances beyond our control. Yes, it was all Eleanor could manage. I have a proposal. Alexander's voice was careful. The contract is legal and binding. If we do not marry, your stepmother will find other ways to make your life miserable. She could even claim you stole from her, have you arrested. She strikes me as that kind of woman. Eleanor's heart sank. He was right. Lady Beatrice would do exactly that. But if we marry, you are free of her forever. You would be a duchess, safe, protected, want for nothing. He paused. I ask nothing of you in return. We will have separate rooms, separate lives. You need only bear my name and live in this house. It is large enough that we need never see each other if you wish. Eleanor stared at him. Why would you agree to this? You do not know me. You owe me nothing. For the first time, something like pain crossed his face. Because I understand what it is to be trapped by duty and circumstance. Because I have more wealth and space than I know what to do with. Because... He stopped, looked away. Because my house has been empty too long. Perhaps it is time for that to change. You loved your wife. Eleanor said it softly, not a question. Yes. The single word held volumes of grief. She died 5 years ago, in childbirth. The baby did not survive either. I have been alone since then. I am sorry. Eleanor meant it. She knew grief. It was an old friend. They stood in silence. The fire crackled. Rain began to fall outside the windows. Eleanor thought about her choices. Return to Thornwood and face Lady Beatrice's wrath, or stay here with this grieving stranger and become his wife in name only. I will need time to think, Eleanor said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. You are welcome here as my guest for as long as you wish. Alexander moved to the door. He opened it for her. Mrs. Davies will show you the house. If you need anything, you have only to ask. Eleanor walked to the door. She paused beside him. He was taller than she had realized. She had to look up to see his face. His eyes were very grey, very sad. Thank you, she whispered, for your kindness. Something flickered in those grey eyes. Surprise, perhaps, as if kindness were not something he expected to be thanked for. It is nothing. But it was not nothing. To Eleanor, who had known only cruelty for so long, it was everything. Over the next 3 days, Eleanor explored the house that might become her home. Ravenscroft Castle was beautiful. Sad, yes. Empty, certainly. But beautiful. The gardens called to her most. She spent hours walking among the roses. They grew wild and free. No one had tended them properly in years. Mrs. Davies became her companion. The housekeeper talked as they walked. She told Eleanor about the house, about the Duke. "He was different before," Mrs. Davies said one afternoon. They sat in the garden. The sun was weak but warm. "Full of life. He laughed often, loved to ride and hunt. When he married Lady Catherine, we thought he was the happiest man alive." "What was she like?" Eleanor asked. She was curious about the woman who had owned Alexander's heart. "Lovely, kind. She sang like an angel." Mrs. Davies smiled at the memory. "But delicate. The doctors warned her not to have children. Her health was too fragile. But she wanted a baby so badly. His Grace tried to dissuade her, but she insisted. She said she wanted to give him an heir. So she died giving him what he did not ask for." Eleanor's heart ached for them both. "Yes, and he has blamed himself ever since. He locked himself away in this house, sent the servants away except for me and James and a few others. He stopped seeing friends, stopped living, really. He just exists here like a ghost." Eleanor understood. Grief could do that, turn a person into a shadow of themselves. That evening she made her decision. She found Alexander in the library again. He seemed to spend most of his time there, surrounded by books instead of people. "I will marry you," Eleanor said. No preamble, no flowery words, just truth. Alexander looked up from the book he was reading. "You are certain?" "Yes, you are right. I have nowhere else to go. And you have been kind to me. That is more than I expected from this life." Eleanor sat across from him. "But I have conditions." One eyebrow lifted. "Conditions?" "Yes. I will not be a decoration in your house. I will not sit idle. I want to work in the gardens. They need tending. And I want access to the library. I love to read. And to write." "You write?" Interest sparked in his eyes. "Stories. Nothing important. Just things I imagine." Eleanor felt heat rise in her cheeks. "It is a silly hobby." "It is not silly." Alexander's voice was firm. "The gardens are yours to do with as you wish. The library is yours. All of it. And anything else in this house that you desire." "Thank you." Eleanor hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering her. "What will you tell people? About us? About why we married?" "The truth. That our fathers arranged it years ago. That we are honoring their wishes. Society will gossip regardless. Let them." He closed his book. "We will marry in 3 days. A small ceremony. Just the vicar and witnesses. If that is acceptable to you." "Yes." Eleanor stood. "Good night, Alexander." "Good night, Eleanor." She was halfway to the door when he spoke again. "Eleanor?" She turned. He was watching her with an expression she could not read. "I am glad you came to the wrong castle." She smiled. It felt strange. She had not smiled in so long. "So am I." The wedding was exactly as promised, small and simple. Eleanor wore a dress that had belonged to the housekeeper's daughter. It was cream-coloured, simple but pretty. Alexander wore black, of course. They spoke their vows in the castle chapel. The vicar looked nervous. James the butler and Mrs. Davies stood as witnesses. The whole thing took less than 20 minutes. When it was done, Alexander slipped a ring onto Eleanor's finger. It was gold, set with a single sapphire the colour of twilight. "It was my mother's," he said quietly. "I thought you should have it." Eleanor looked down at the ring. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever owned. Tears pricked her eyes. "Thank you." They had a small dinner afterward, just the two of them at one end of a very long table. It should have been awkward, but something about the day had changed things. Eleanor felt lighter, free. She was Eleanor Ashford now, Duchess of Ravenscroft. Lady Beatrice could never hurt her again. "What are you thinking?" Alexander asked. He had been watching her. "That I never thought I would be married, that I certainly never thought I would be a duchess." Eleanor smiled. "It is strange." "Yes," he paused. "Is it terrible?" "No, not terrible at all." She looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who had saved her without even meaning to. "You have given me a great gift. Safety, freedom, a home. I do not know how to repay you." "You owe me nothing." Alexander's voice was rough. "I told you that. Still, I am grateful." They finished dinner in comfortable silence. Afterward, Alexander showed her to her room. It was the blue one she had woken in that first day, but now it was different. Someone had filled it with flowers, books sat stacked on the table by the window, writing paper and ink waited on the desk. "I thought you might like these," Alexander said. He seemed uncertain, as if he feared he had overstepped. Eleanor's throat tightened. "It is perfect, thank you." He nodded, started to leave, then stopped. "My room is just down the hall, the third door on the left. If you need anything, ever, you need only knock." "I will remember." He left her then. Eleanor stood in her beautiful blue room, her room, in her house. She was married. She was safe. For the first time in 8 years, she allowed herself to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, life could be good again. The days turned into weeks. Eleanor fell into a routine. She woke early, worked in the gardens, read in the library, wrote her stories. Alexander kept his distance. They took meals together sometimes, other times they did not. When they spoke, it was carefully, politely, like strangers sharing a house. But Eleanor noticed things, small things. Alexander always made sure her favorite tea was stocked. When it rained, a warm shawl appeared on her chair. Books she mentioned wanting to read showed up on her desk. He never said anything about these gestures, but Eleanor knew they came from him. She began to leave small gifts in return. Flowers from the garden on his desk, his favorite whiskey restocked in the library. Once, she found a tear in his favorite reading chair. She mended it while he was out riding. He never mentioned it, but the next day, a new book of poetry appeared in her room. They were learning each other, dancing around each other, neither wanting to push too far too fast. One evening, Eleanor found Alexander in the library. He sat by the fire, his head in his hands. She should have left, given him privacy, but something in his posture stopped her. "Alexander?" She spoke softly. "Are you unwell?" He looked up. His eyes were red. "It is the anniversary of Catherine's death. 5 years today." Eleanor's heart cracked. "I am so sorry. I will leave you alone." "No!" The word came out sharp, desperate. "Please, stay. I do not want to be alone tonight." Eleanor sat in the chair across from him. They sat in silence for a long time. The fire burned low. Finally, Alexander spoke. "I dream about her still. Every night. In the dreams, I save her. I convince her not to go through with the pregnancy. We live. We are happy." His voice broke. "But then I wake up, and she is still gone, and it is still my fault." "It is not your fault." Eleanor leaned forward. "You did not kill her. She made a choice. A choice I should have stopped." Anger and pain warred in his voice. "Could you have stopped her? Really?" Eleanor asked gently. "If she was determined?" Alexander looked at her, really looked at her. "No. Once Catherine decided something, nothing could change her mind. She was stubborn that way." "Then you could not have saved her. You can only love someone. You cannot control them." Eleanor spoke from experience. She had learned this lesson with her father. Grief is natural, but guilt will destroy you. How do you know this? Alexander's eyes searched her face. My father died trying to save a tenant from a burning barn. He went in knowing it might collapse. Everyone told him not to, but he could not stand by and watch someone die. Eleanor's voice steadied. I was angry at him for a long time, for leaving me, for choosing a stranger over his own daughter. But he did not choose. He simply did what his heart told him was right. I could not have stopped him, and I had to forgive him, and myself, or the guilt would have eaten me alive. Alexander stared at her. In the firelight, his face was younger, softer. You are not what I expected. What did you expect? I do not know. Someone weak, perhaps. Someone who needed to be saved. He shook his head. But you are strong. You understand things. You speak truth even when it is difficult. Eleanor felt warmth spread through her chest. I have had to be strong. I had no choice. But strength born of suffering is not something to admire. It simply is. Still, Alexander stood. He moved to the window, looked out at the dark gardens. You have made this house different. Lighter somehow. The servants smile now. They sing while they work. I had not realized how dead this place had become until you brought it back to life. The house was sleeping, not dead. It just needed someone to wake it. Eleanor joined him at the window. They stood side by side, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. You were sleeping too, but you are waking up. I can see it. He turned to face her. They were very close now. Eleanor could see the silver threads in his dark hair, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his eyes held both sadness and something else, something that made her breath catch. Eleanor. Her name on his lips sounded different, precious. I must tell you something. Yes? When you first arrived, I thought you were a burden, another duty to fulfill. I planned to ignore you as I agreed, to let you live your life while I lived mine. He paused. But I find I cannot ignore you. You are everywhere. In the gardens, in the library, in my thoughts. And I find that I do not wish to ignore you anymore. Eleanor's heart began to race. What are you saying? I am saying that our arrangement no longer suits me. I am saying that I wish to know you, truly know you, your thoughts, your dreams, your fears. He lifted his hand, stopped just short of touching her face. May I? Eleanor nodded. She could not speak. His fingers brushed her cheek, so gentle, as if she were made of glass. His touch sent shivers down her spine. You are beautiful, he whispered. I do not know why I did not see it before. Your eyes, they are the color of honey in sunlight. Your smile, when you share it, lights up every room. Your hands, always busy creating beauty. How could I have thought you plain? I am plain, Eleanor's voice shook. Everyone has always said so. Then everyone is blind. Alexander's thumb traced her jawline. You are extraordinary, and I have been a fool. Before Eleanor could respond, he lowered his head. His lips brushed hers, soft, questioning. Eleanor's first kiss. She had thought she would never have one. She leaned into it, let herself feel. Her hands came up to rest on his chest. His heart pounded beneath her palms. He pulled back, rested his forehead against hers. Is this all right? I am not forcing you. You are not forcing me. Eleanor's voice was breathless. I want this. I want you. I do not deserve you. Perhaps not, but you have me anyway. He smiled then, a real smile, the first she had seen from him. It transformed his face, made him look young and happy and alive. Eleanor felt her heart tumble into freefall. She was in love with him, had been falling since that first night in the library, when he had shown her his pain and trusted her to sit with him in it. I think I am falling in love with you, Alexander said, as if reading her thoughts. It terrifies me. I swore I would never love again, never risk that kind of loss. But you have crept into my heart despite my defenses. What am I to do with you, Eleanor Ashford? Love me, Eleanor said simply. Just love me. That is all I ask. That I can do. He kissed her again, longer this time, deeper. Eleanor felt herself melting, becoming something new, someone who was loved, cherished, wanted. They spent the rest of the evening talking, really talking. Alexander told her about his childhood, his parents, his dreams before grief dimmed them. Eleanor shared her stories, her loneliness, her hope that had never quite died. "Will you read me one of your stories?" Alexander asked as the fire burned down to embers. "They are not very good," Eleanor protested. "I doubt that very much." So she did. She retrieved one of her manuscripts from her room, sat beside him on the sofa, read aloud while he listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Eleanor, these are not just good, they are remarkable. You have real talent." He looked at her with awe. "Have you thought of publishing them?" "Of course not. No one would want to read my silly stories." "I disagree. These stories are full of hope and truth. They would touch many hearts." He took her hand. "I have connections in London, publishers. I could introduce you." Eleanor's heart soared. "You would do that?" "I would do anything for you. Do you not see that yet?" He raised her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "You are my wife, my duchess. But more than that, you are becoming my dearest friend, my confidant, my reason to wake in the morning. I want to give you everything you have ever dreamed of." Tears spilled down Eleanor's cheeks, happy tears. "I never dreamed of anything grand, just to be safe, to be loved. You have given me both. Then we are even, because you have given me life again." The weeks that followed were the happiest Eleanor had ever known. She and Alexander were inseparable. They rode together through the countryside, worked side by side in the gardens, read to each other in the library, talked long into the night about everything and nothing. The servants noticed. Mrs. Davies smiled knowingly. James hummed while he worked. The house truly woke up. Rooms were opened, dust covers removed, light and air and laughter filled the halls. Alexander showed her the estate, introduced her to the tenants. They looked at her with curiosity at first, the new duchess. But Eleanor's kindness won them over. She remembered names, asked about families, helped where she could. Soon they loved her as much as Alexander did, because he did love her. He said it often now, in the morning over breakfast, in the garden while they worked, before they parted each night to go to their separate rooms. Though they spent more and more time simply holding each other, kissing, learning the shape and feel of each other. "When will you come to my room?" Alexander asked one night. They stood outside her door. He held her close. "Not for anything you are not ready for, just to sleep beside me. I miss you the moment you leave my sight." "Soon," Eleanor promised. "I am almost ready." She was, but she was also afraid. Afraid this happiness was too good to be true, that something would come to destroy it. That fear seemed foolish until the day a carriage appeared at the gates. Eleanor was in the garden. She heard the commotion, walked to the front of the house. A fine carriage stood in the drive. Lady Beatrice stepped out. Behind her came Prudence. Eleanor's blood turned cold. "There you are." Lady Beatrice's voice was acid. "Hiding in the dirt like a common servant. How fitting." Alexander appeared at Eleanor's side. He had been in the stables. "Who are you?" His voice was ice. "I am Lady Beatrice Whitmore, Eleanor's stepmother, and you must be the Duke who was foolish enough to marry her." Lady Beatrice looked him up and down. "I have come to inform you of a legal matter, one that will interest you greatly." "Come inside." Alexander's hand found Eleanor's. He squeezed gently. We will discuss this in private. They gathered in the drawing room. Lady Beatrice took the best chair. Prudence sat beside her mother. Both looked around the room with greedy eyes, calculating the value of everything they saw. "Now then," Lady Beatrice said, "I will be brief. The betrothal contract between you and Eleanor is invalid." Eleanor's heart stopped. "What?" "I have consulted with my solicitors. The contract required Eleanor to be unmarried and pure at the time of the marriage, but Eleanor is neither." Lady Beatrice's smile was cruel. "She had an affair with the butcher's son when she was 17. The whole village knew of it. Therefore the contract is void. This marriage is void. And you, Your Grace, have been made a fool of." "That is a lie," Eleanor gasped. "I never had an affair with anyone." "Oh? Then how do you explain the letters he wrote you, the meetings in the garden, the kisses witnessed by 3 people? Lady Beatrice pulled papers from her bag. "I have sworn statements. Witnesses willing to testify in court. Your reputation will be destroyed. The Duke will annul this marriage, and you will return with me where you belong." Eleanor felt the world crumbling. "Those letters were nothing. He wrote to me, yes, but I never encouraged him. I never met him in secret, never kissed him. The witnesses are lying." "Who will believe you? A penniless nobody against 3 upstanding citizens." Lady Beatrice stood. "You have 1 day to prepare to leave. I will return tomorrow morning. If you do not come willingly, I will pursue this in court. The scandal will ruin you both. Is that what you want, Your Grace? To be known as the Duke who married a whore?" "Get out." Alexander's voice was deadly quiet. "Get out of my house before I throw you out." Lady Beatrice laughed. "Such dramatics. But you will see reason. You will not risk your reputation for someone like her. You will let her go, and you will be better for it." She swept out. Prudence followed. Eleanor stood frozen. She could not breathe, could not think. Alexander turned to her. "Eleanor, look at me." She could not. Shame burned through her. "I did not do those things. I swear to you. That boy wrote me letters, yes, but I told him to stop. I never encouraged him, never met him. The witnesses are lying. They must be. But how can I prove it?" "You do not need to prove anything to me." Alexander took her face in his hands, forced her to meet his eyes. "I know you. I know your heart. I do not believe her lies." "But the scandal, your reputation. She is right. You would be better off without me." Eleanor's voice broke. "Let me go. Annul the marriage. Protect yourself." "No." The word was absolute. "I will not let you go. I will not let her take you from me. We will fight this, together." "How?" "She has witnesses, papers. What do we have?" "We have the truth, and we have each other. That is enough." Alexander pulled her into his arms, held her tight. "I love you, Eleanor. Nothing and no one will take you from me. Do you understand?" Eleanor clung to him, but fear ate at her. Lady Beatrice was clever, ruthless. She would not have come unless she was certain of victory. Eleanor had been so happy, so foolish to think it could last. That night Eleanor could not eat, could not sleep. She paced her room, thoughts racing. By dawn she had made her decision. She wrote Alexander a letter, left it on his desk in the library. Then she slipped out of the house before anyone woke. She walked to the village, found the coaching inn, used the last of the money from a necklace she had sold to buy passage south, away from Ravenscroft, away from Alexander. She would face Lady Beatrice alone, take whatever punishment came. She would not let Alexander be destroyed because of her. The coach was leaving in an hour. Eleanor sat in the inn, waiting, trying not to cry, trying to be brave. She did not hear him come in, did not know he was there until his hand touched her shoulder. "Did you really think I would let you go?" Alexander's voice was rough with emotion. Eleanor spun around. He stood there, his hair wild, his face pale. "How did you find me?" "Mrs. Davies saw you leave. I followed." He pulled her to her feet. "Did you mean what you wrote in the letter? That you love me but cannot stay because you will not be the cause of my ruin?" "Yes." Tears streamed down her face. "I love you too much to destroy you." "Then you are a fool." He said it gently. "Because the only thing that would destroy me is losing you. Do you not see? You are my life now, my heart. Without you I am nothing, just a ghost in an empty house." "But Lady Beatrice is a liar and a manipulator. I sent James to the village last night. He spoke to people. The butcher's son left England 3 years ago, went to America. He cannot testify. The supposed witnesses? 2 owe Lady Beatrice money. The 3rd is her cousin. Their testimony would be torn apart in any court." Alexander cupped her face. She was bluffing, hoping to scare us, to separate us, and it almost worked. Eleanor stared at him. "You mean—" "I mean she has nothing, no case, no power. You are my wife, my duchess, and you are staying that way." He kissed her, right there in the coaching inn, in front of everyone. "Now come home with me, please." "Yes." Eleanor laughed through her tears. "Yes, take me home." They rode back to Ravenscroft together. Alexander held her close in the carriage. She was done running, done being afraid. Lady Beatrice could not hurt her anymore. She was Eleanor Ashford, Duchess of Ravenscroft, wife to the man she loved, and she was home. When they arrived, Alexander called all the servants together. He stood with Eleanor at his side, hand in hand. "I want you all to know something," he said. His voice rang through the hall. "This woman is my wife. I love her with all my heart. She has brought light back into this house, into my life. Anyone who speaks against her speaks against me. Anyone who threatens her threatens me. Is that understood?" A chorus of "Yes, Your Grace" echoed back. Mrs. Davies was crying. James beamed. Eleanor felt their love and support wrap around her like a warm cloak. That night, Eleanor went to Alexander's room, not to her own. She knocked softly. He opened the door, his expression questioned. "I am ready," Eleanor said simply. "I want to be your wife in every way, if you still want me." "If I still want you." He pulled her inside, closed the door. "Eleanor, I will always want you. Today, tomorrow, forever." He kissed her. She kissed him back. They found each other in the darkness. 2 broken people made whole by love. Eleanor had never felt so cherished, so safe, so completely and utterly loved. Afterward, they lay together, her head on his chest, his arms around her. Eleanor traced patterns on his skin. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the wrong castle that had been so very right. "What are you thinking?" Alexander asked. His voice was sleepy, content. "That I am the luckiest woman alive, that I delivered a letter to the wrong castle and found everything I never knew I needed. The wrong castle, the right man." Alexander kissed the top of her head. "I think our fathers knew. I think they knew we would need each other, that we would save each other." "Perhaps." Eleanor smiled in the darkness. "Or perhaps it was just fate." "I do not believe in fate. I believe in you." He tightened his arms around her. "Sleep now, my love. Tomorrow we begin our real life together." Eleanor closed her eyes. For the first time in 8 years, she felt truly at peace. She had been lost, broken, thrown away. But she had been found, mended, chosen, and loved beyond measure. The seal had borne her family name, a mystery that had led her here, to this man, to this love, to this life. Whatever magic had brought them together, Eleanor was grateful. She sent a silent thank you to her father, to Alexander's father, to the universe itself. Then she slept, safe in the arms of the man who loved her, in the house that was now her home, in the life she had never dared to dream of, but had been given anyway. 3 months later, Eleanor stood in the Ravenscroft gardens. The roses were blooming. She had worked hard to bring them back. They responded to her care with glorious colour and sweet scent. Alexander came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, rested his chin on her shoulder. "I have news," he said. "Good news, I hope?" "The publisher in London read your manuscript. He wants to publish it. He thinks it will be a success." Alexander turned her in his arms. His eyes shone with pride. "You are going to be a published author, Eleanor." Joy burst through her like sunlight. "Truly?" "Truly. I told you your stories were remarkable." He kissed her nose. "My talented, beautiful, extraordinary wife." Eleanor threw her arms around his neck, laughed with pure happiness. Her stories would be in the world, read by people who needed hope as much as she once had. It was more than she had ever dreamed. "There is more," Alexander said. He looked nervous, excited. "The doctor came this morning, while you were in the garden. He confirmed what Mrs. Davis suspected." Eleanor's breath caught. "What?" "You are with child. We are going to have a baby." His hand moved to rest on her still flat stomach. "Are you happy?" "Happy?" Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "I am overwhelmed, terrified, thrilled. Is it possible to feel all those things at once?" "I think so. I am feeling them too." Alexander's voice shook. "I am afraid, Eleanor. After Catherine—" "I am not Catherine," Eleanor said firmly. She took his face in her hands. "I am strong, healthy, and I am not going anywhere. We will face this together, just as we face everything else." "Together," Alexander repeated. He kissed her gently, reverently. "I love you." "I love you too." Eleanor meant it with every fiber of her being. They stood together in the garden, surrounded by the roses Eleanor had brought back to life, in the home they had built together, with a future stretching before them full of promise and hope and love. Eleanor thought back to the girl she had been, broken, afraid, convinced she had no worth. That girl would never have believed this life was possible. But it was real. It was hers. And she would treasure every moment of it. The letter had been delivered to the wrong castle, but it had led her exactly where she needed to be. To the right man, the right love, the right life. Sometimes the wrong path leads you to the right destination. Sometimes mistakes are really miracles in disguise. Eleanor had learned that the hard way, but she had learned it well, and she would spend the rest of her life grateful for that one wrong turn that had changed everything. The seal had borne her family name, a name that meant something again, a name she could be proud of, because now it was tied to Alexander's, to their love, to their future. She was Eleanor Ashford, Duchess of Ravenscroft, author, wife, mother-to-be, and most importantly, a woman who knew she was loved. That was all that mattered. That was everything. Alexander took her hand, led her back toward the house, their home. Together they walked into their future, side by side, heart to heart. Two souls who had found each other in the most unexpected way, and who would love each other for all the days of their lives. The wrong castle had been the right one all along.